Hey you guys, what is going on? My name is Marcus and you're back on Roads Untraveled. Here today in front of me we have the 2019 Honda Clarity Touring. It's a plug-in hybrid. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go for a drive. Alright, so this is the Clarity Touring. The Clarity starts at $40,000 Canadian and this Touring model is priced at $44,100 Canadian. Now, it is a plug-in hybrid and therefore the bodywork kind of suggests that in various details. Now, one of those being the partially covered wheels in the rear as well as that cool little airflow section in the back. So there are a few features that kind of make it stand out as a plug-in hybrid on the exterior, and you can drive this on battery alone for up to 70 kilometers. So if your commute is short, you could theoretically go an entire week there and back, charge it at home without ever using gasoline. But that's enough talking. A lot of features on this car, inside and out. Let's go take it for a drive and see how it performs. So the Honda Clarity has both a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4 with VTEC for those Honda people, variable valve timing up at the top end for a little bit extra power, as well as an electric motor. So what you get is a kind of seamless mix between the two, where you can essentially, if you live close to your work, within about 70 kilometers, you could drive the entire week without using any gasoline. But if you need to go on a little bit of a longer journey, then it gives you the option of kicking up the gasoline-powered engine, and there you go, you can go another about 550 kilometers on a tank. So that's basically the gist of it. It's a combination of electric power and gasoline power, but with the throttle, there's no gear changes. There's no, it doesn't feel like a gasoline-powered engine. So it leans more towards the electric vehicle feeling, for sure. Most of the time you can just drive it in all electric, which is quite nice, like I'm doing right now. The road noise is really quiet, so let's get into it. First things first, let's take a look at the Honda Clarity from the outside. So the one design feature on this car that may draw your attention in the most at the beginning are those rear fender arches. Okay, so they basically come down and partially cover the rear wheels. Now, some of you may know or remember the original Honda Insight, which had more than half of the rear wheels covered, and that kind of made it a cult classic in some way here in 2019. And I know famous YouTuber Rob Dahm actually has one of those. We saw him in one of those and talked with him a while ago at Auto Club Speedway, and he is not afraid to pull up in a Honda Insight, okay? So that's just one example of a design feature on the outside that you might not be a big fan of, but the point is everything on the outside, the exterior, that's not the point, right? The goal is to make this car as aerodynamic and fuel efficient as possible, lowering wind resistance as low as humanly possible. So that is why you get a few design features that are a little bit questionable in some people's eyes, including mine, but the point is to make a vehicle that is the most practical vehicle, and you don't necessarily care quite as much about little things like that that may bug you on a normal sedan or a normal SUV. Overall, I think the Clarity actually looks pretty good. The front end, has that traditional Honda, well, it's now traditional Honda, kind of split chrome headlights, the grille that kind of extends all the way across the front fascia. I think it looks pretty good. It's not trying to be an aggressive looking car, which I'm very happy about. It's just a practical kind of semi-futuristic looking hybrid. So just the same, the wheels are not there as a stylistic choice, although you can option these optional 18-inch wheels that, in my opinion, I think look a little bit better. But these ones, I mean, they're designed to cut down on drag and just make the car as fuel efficient as possible. As far as the driving experience goes, I've been quite pleased. It is extremely seamless how it goes from electric power to gasoline power. So we are in Econ mode, normal driving mode. I'm driving on electric power only at the moment, but let's say we want to take it into some corners. Not that you would ever really purposely go out of your way to go on a drive just for the sake of going on a drive in this car. Nonetheless, you can turn sport mode on and the gasoline power will kick up automatically, and then you have the full power at your disposal whenever you want. So the gasoline power is always, so the gasoline engine is always on, and then you have basically electric boost for the acceleration. There's 212 horsepower combined, electric and gasoline power. And the throttle in sport mode becomes a little bit twitchier, and that's about it. So it provides a little bit more connection to the road and max power. So you can go over here and hit hybrid vehicle mode, and essentially what that does is the clarity will take over, and we use both the gasoline motor and the electric motor in conjunction to provide the best fuel economy. Especially on the freeway, this is good because where the electric motor may not be quite as efficient at, let's say, 120 kilometers an hour, the gasoline engine will be. Right, so you can have the gasoline power a little bit more so than the electric motor, but still having the electric motor powering just a little bit, let's say on the freeway. So if you hold the hybrid vehicle button down for a couple of seconds, that will put the vehicle into a full charge state, which means anything you do, it will focus on not only holding the charge of the battery on board, but charging that battery any moment it can. Includes regenerative braking. So there you have full power, 212 ponies. The interesting thing is, if you hear there is no gears, okay? So this is not powered by the electric motor directly to the wheels at any time. It is going through what Honda calls an eCVT, which is an electronically controlled CVT transmission that's not a transmission. It's a motor that's also a transmission. So basically you have a seamless driving experience. That's literally all you need to know. You're not shifting through gears. There's no kind of lurching or anything like that. It is extremely smooth. And then when the gasoline engine actually does in fact come on, then you do just basically hear the engine whir at top RPMs forever. So it'll just sit at very high RPMs in VTEC indefinitely, essentially, when you have that throttle pinned down in regardless of your mode. Sport mode, hybrid vehicle mode. The only exception is if you're in all EV mode, in which case you can go pretty close to full throttle and only ever use electric power. So these paddles, no, are not for shifting gears, as I mentioned. They are for controlling the regen braking. So if you hit the left side, it'll brake more, and 3 times, and it will have the most powerful regen braking possible, which will still not throw up the brake lights, which is you know, a good little touch, because then what happens if it was the case? Then you let off the gas and you just have your brake lights coming on all the time when you're just coasting, which is no good. I like basically driving with little to no regen braking on. So the battery actually lasts quite a long time. You can drive up to 70 kilometers EV only. So like I said, if your commute is relatively close, then you'll have no problem going to work on all electric, coming home from work all electric, and then charging the battery overnight, which takes 12 hours on a standard household socket, and then you have your car ready to go 12 hours later in the morning. Repeat the process, and you never have to use gasoline ever again. If you want a little bit more power, however, though, it is awesome. I think that the gasoline motor is there, okay? Honda has not dedicated a 100% EV to the Clarity yet, at least not in the North American market. And previously, there was a hydrogen model of this only available in California as kind of a test vehicle.
wanna give you what you like, everything you fantasize. For one moment with you, girl. I want all the lovey-dovey texts you rent out.
Over the last couple of months, we've had the opportunity to drive and review some of Honda's new 2019 lineup. However, something I've been kind of consistently disappointed with is when it comes to the design of the interiors. For the most part, I find that they have been overlooking that aspect of the cars. But after hopping into this new Clarity, I have to say I'm actually really impressed to see them starting to put a little bit more effort into making the interiors more modern and more fresh. But anyways, let's hop on the inside and take a look at a couple things.
And I just had to let you know, come and bring it here, 'cause I want it all.
As soon as you sit inside this car, the first thing you notice is this beautiful combination between this dark brown wood and this light beige Alcantara, which runs throughout the entire vehicle. This adds a really nice premium luxury feel to the inside of the car, and I absolutely love what Honda has done with this. The seats, which are manual, offer a nice amount of support along the sides, and I've found them to be quite comfortable. Next, taking a look at the center console, they seem to be following the trend that a lot of other manufacturers are doing, and that is offering you the storage space down below. Now, this is something similar to what you would see in a McLaren, and I think it's a great idea, as it's a lot of wasted space to not utilize it. As you can see, you have the wood trim that runs along the sides of the controls, and you have a nice, easy, clean layout. So you have your Econ mode, you have your Sport mode, and HV mode, all available up top with your park, reverse, neutral, and drive buttons down below. Now, the buttons themselves are laid out in a nice, easy, intuitive way that allows you to operate them without actually looking. So whenever you're trying to put it into reverse or put it into park, I'm not having to look down to see what I'm pressing, as they've laid it out in a way that you can really feel exactly what button you're about to hit. Now, the first thing that you notice as soon as you turn around and look behind you is this strange design choice I haven't seen used in other vehicles before. And that is you actually have two pieces of glass. You have your main backup window, as well as right below it, you have a second piece that looks through the trunk. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel, I have to say overall, I think they've done a good job. It fits well in the hand and it's easy to operate. The paddles on the sides have a nice solid click to them, and there's no flimsy plastic used. However, I do have to say that the buttons that they've used in this car are not my favorite. I've seen a very similar style of button in other Honda vehicles, and I'm just not a big fan of this clear plastic, transparent design. Though the buttons themselves, they do operate quite well, and you do have a nice solid click to them, it's not my button of choice. Now, taking a look at this completely digital gauge cluster ahead of you here, I have to say that it is quite a bit of an improvement based on other Honda vehicles we've filmed in the past. However, I don't think they're there quite yet. The resolution of the LCD screen isn't the highest, but it is definitely better than the super pixelated screens I've seen in the past. Now, my biggest complaint with this car actually comes down to the infotainment system itself. I've had this problem with many other Hondas in the past, and it's something that I don't think they're putting enough time and effort into actually perfecting. I find that it looks very dated, and it kind of reminds me of an aftermarket head unit that you would buy in the mid-2000s. Opening and closing different menus, there is a delay, it's a little bit laggy, and it just doesn't look like a real perfected Honda product yet. Now, what drives me insane with this the most is the fact that they've removed all physical dials for adjusting things like volume. So in order to adjust the volume, you have to use this touchscreen roller. And though it works, it is not very quick, and I find it's a real pain, especially while driving or wanting to make quick adjustments, as again, it's a touchscreen and it's not as instant as a normal dial would be. On the positive note, a feature that they have included in this car is this blind spot camera. So if you're about to make a right turn and you put on the signal, you see the screen change into the side mirror view. So it actually makes it very easy to see if anybody's in your blind spot. However, what I find kind of strange is the fact that they don't include one on your left-hand side, as that's usually the side that you struggle viewing the most, as you do have quite a bit of visibility on your right. But it is something nice to have nonetheless. But anyways, let's hop back inside the car with Marcus and finish up the review.
You know, what the Honda Clarity does right, and what you really need to focus on when you're looking at a vehicle like this, it's a spreadsheet vehicle. You know, you plug it into your spreadsheet, You plug in the numbers, you see if it's gonna save you money. You maybe take it on a test drive. Is it comfortable? Is the steering nice? Does it drive nice? Most modern cars do. Does the infotainment work? Yes, works all right. There you have your car. If it suits your spreadsheet, then you buy the car. That is essentially, to me at least, as a sports car enthusiast, what the hybrid or the plug-in hybrid market is. It is a practicality vehicle. Just like I said, that goes back to the exterior styling. Nobody is going to be sold on this vehicle based purely on how it looks. That's not what this car is about. When you get inside and you have the driving experience, that just kind of calms you down. It brings the stress levels down a little bit, right? It's just that much smoother than your average commuter sedan that it makes living just all that much nicer. It's one less thing you have to think about. One more thing you have to think about is the fact that you have to plug this in and charge it. Although if you have it in charge mode, then that is not the case, and it will charge up to 60% just in charge mode. And effectively, the Honda Clarity will keep some juice in the battery at all times, right? Which leaves the throttle always having that nice fluid instant torque feel of the electric motor. There's never a, oh no, the battery's dead, now it feels like a clunky gasoline powered car again. There's none of that. It just always, it's very consistent. The Clarity is a very consistent vehicle, and I praise Honda for doing that, because that's exactly what you need. People do not want compromise when they're driving a plug-in hybrid, right? They don't want the first iteration. They don't want to be the beta testers of a plug-in hybrid, and I think the Clarity just proves that, you know, Honda is deep into this game, and they are well on their way to creating some great EVs in the future, I'm sure. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Honda Clarity. As a daily commuter, rolling incognito, I love it. We've been driving it for about a week now, and you know, it's got a lot of storage space. It's very practical, and I think it puts up a good fight, especially for the touring model at $34,000 Canadian, the base starting at 30. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up on Instagram at Untraveled. We'll see you guys next time.